everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Death of a Unicorn. This is a new film from A24 Studios. It is rated R with a runtime of an hour and 44 minutes. As of the recording of this video, we have a Rotten Tomato score of 54% from the critics, 78% from the audience, and an average rating on Letterboxd of 3.0. I'm a little bit higher than that overall. We're going to get into all that. This is written and directed by Alex Sharfman, this is his directorial debut. And the movie was available in theaters on as of March 28th. I was able to watch it a little bit after that, and I was very excited because I had heard some interesting things. The movie is stars Paul Rudd, Jenna Ortega, Richard E. Grant, Taya Leone, Will Poulter, Anthony Carrigan, who I cannot wait to see in the upcoming Superman film, Jessica Hines, Sunita Mani, and Steve Park. This is a very small movie in scope, but I think it's a very big movie when it comes to the idea of it. The film follows widow father Elliot Kidner and his teenage daughter Ridley as they travel to a weekend retreat hosted by Elliot's terminally ill employer, Odo Leopold, that is Richard Grant. During their journey, they accidentally hit and kill a unicorn. Upon discovering the unicorn's miraculous properties, Odell and his family scheme to exploit the creature's body for pharmaceutical gain. However, the situation spirals out of control when vengeful unicorns descend upon their secluded state, leading to chaos and bloodshed. Uh, I had a very entertaining time with this film. I don't think it's perfect, and I think that there are some things that maybe the film could do a little bit better. We'll get into some of those things. But overall, it worked for me. It had an interesting story. I was entertained from beginning to end. I didn't feel that the film was excessively long. I think it has a very interesting pacing. It worked for me. Like, I really enjoyed the characters, getting to know, why Jenna Ortega and Paul Rudd have to go do this thing in the middle of nowhere. Exploring the characters of like these billionaires that Paul Rudd works for, and their family dynamics. I think Richard E. Grant is fantastic. Great to see Taya Leone all the time, and Will Poulter really, really goes over the top. Anthony Carrigan, like I mentioned, he's fantastic, and we have a few other characters that, for a small movie like this, I think they really work in the time as they were needed. So I'm very excited to like talk a little bit more about this. I think the film itself, it is a really interesting exploration of grief and greed and what people will do in order to satisfy some of those needs that come from feeling those emotions. Um, I think Paul Rudd's character has a very interesting arc all throughout the film. But to me, I think the standout is Jenna Ortega, where you really feel like she's very good at emoting like sadness and melancholy and like this thing and pain, but also just to kind of like uh motivate people as to like, like whenever things have to get done. Of course, she's great when it comes to some of this horror genre type of thing. So yeah, I think like she's really perfect for this role. I really loved her dynamic with Paul Rudd, but to me, what I never expected was how much fun I had in the scenes where it was Jen Ortega and Richard E. Grant. Like, I don't know. I would love to see him work together at some other time. I think Richard E. Grant, just his character is so over the top, that I think it really balances very interestingly against Jenna Ortega's more grounded kind of character. There's some really interesting visuals. I think there's a few spots where the CGI is a little bit spotty with the unicorns, but I think overall it works. That's not something that usually jumps out at me, but there are some spots in the daytime where you see the unicorns, and I'm like, oh, okay, well maybe that, a little bit. The score itself, it just really works. I think it enhances the tension when needed, enhances the horror. So I really thought that really worked out great. The movie itself was, like I said, I think the pacing was great. It was long enough. It is a little bit, I don't want to say predictable, but you can kind of tell like the foreshadowing really works, and they don't really stray very far from the path that they have kind of laid out. There are some fun surprises. There's probably one sequence that you could probably cut out where they spend a little bit too much time hunting the unicorn to prove that it's really to highlight that how bad these bad people are, and how greedy they are and all that. But I don't think it was needed. I think they did such a good job with the original performances that maybe that it felt a little bit redundant in that sequence. But it does lead to some really gnarly kills, which is always something that if you're going for like this type of horror kind of comedy, really works. And it's a very interesting juxtaposition of both of the genres. I would say there's definitely more horror than comedy, but the comedic moments really, really work. And man, oh man, Anthony Carrigan is just like every time I see him, like he plays such interesting characters that I'm very excited to see what else he's gonna do in the future. There's some, like I mentioned, there's some really gnarly kills all throughout the film, and I think the resolution, uh, you know, depending on how cynical you may be about a few things in the world, it might hit home for you, or it may miss a little bit. But to me, it worked. I was in a good mood. I was having a good time with the film, and it just overall, the theater experience was very cool. This movie looks great on the screen for the most part. I love the set where they whatever they are. This compound that they found. I love the idea of like this house having all those like really big, heavy wooden doors that would allow the characters to eventually try to like escape or navigate this type of like house, kind of like a maze to try to get away from the unicorns. And then of course the ridiculous idea that of course we're just gonna immediately look to either weaponize or figure out how we can profit from this tragedy. I think it's very interesting commentary as well. So I had a great time with this. From what I've seen online, most people are a little bit mixed on this. I don't know that it should be as low as it is. I would say I'm at about a 3.5, which is like 70%. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. It's got some high concept stuff that you can really try to read more into, and the gory and the humor and the the more mystical or like more phenomenal elements of it kind of work. And it leaves in a very like it just the way that it kind of closes out is like, okay, there we go, boom, movie's done, and let's get out of here and have a good time. So I really really like it. I think, like I said, anything Jenna Ortega is just like one of the more prolific people here. I will say the only thing I was waiting for is for Paul Rudd to call her Peanut. So that's definitely what the MCU has done to us. But other than that, I thought that was really funny. Like they really kind of become the characters here. I didn't talk much about Will Poulter, but man, oh man, his character is just so over the top. It's great. Like this, like bratty rich kid. He's the son of both Richard Grant and Tia Leone. And like I said, always good to see Tia Leone on my screen. So if you have watched Death of a Unicorn, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And stay tuned because we have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.